Okay, since I got the back cover off for putting the EGR blockout plate in there, I'm gonna work on the rear springs and the rear brakes. I have it supported in the center of the car with a jack that's not really heavy duty enough to be doing that. So if you're doing any kind of work on the rear end of the car, you can support it at that center mount for the rear swing arm. You know, this tube frame here, it's all one piece, so it's basically a rear swing arm, and it kind of pivots on that center point. That's how you get the, it's not really independent suspension, it's all one solid piece, so one isn't going to pivot independently from the other one. All one solid piece. So if you're needing to change out the springs in the rear, you can jack it up in that center point there, the center connection, just get it in the right spot. The best way to do it is a rolling jack, a rolling like a transmission style jack, or just like a rolling 3-ton jack, something like that, you know, and then crank it up that way, and then that'll give you a little bit more stability. This kind of jack is no good. As soon as I jacked it up, the back end of the car wanted to swing over. The reason I'm jacking it up in that center point there is because if you jack it anywhere on the swing arm, you're putting pressure on the spring. So I'm jacking up the body of the car and letting the swing arm come down. I'm going to do the spring on that side, I'll do the brakes on that side, and then I'll go over to this side, do the spring and do the brakes, and yeah, so nothing left to do but to get to it. So to take your drum off, you need a, you need a torch to pull that off. Usually a couple good taps will break the rust free, whatever's holding it on there, and then just take it off. And this hub's not too bad a shape. The brakes don't look too bad either. Seems in very good shape, surprisingly. Yeah, so this side's pretty good. So rear brakes are good. Just the front ones are all caked up with rust. Got a good, nice spray paint, so it looks good through the rims on the wife's car here, and then it's good to go. It's got new hardware, new springs in it. So yeah, it's in good shape. Okay, so to remove the springs properly, you got to have both rear tires off the ground. You got to have it supported in the center, jacked up, so there's no weight on the swing arm. So the swing arm's got to be able to swing down loosely. You got to take off your control links, take off your sway bar, take off your shocks, and we'll see if it drops down like that. If it doesn't, then I'll have to take the nut off of the CV joints, so the CV joint can slide back as it's going down. But I think it'll go down far enough without having to take those nuts off. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to jack it up on my rickety little jack there that's within capacity, but it's not designed to hold the car like this. I think that's a 2,000 pound jack, and the car weighs 1,800 pounds total. And once you get it up in the air, give it a couple wiggles, just so you're aware of how much it's moving and to see if it's actually going to slip off the jack. So now that I got it jacked up and sitting precariously on that jack there, I'm going to stay to the back of it I'm not gonna work on the side of it, and heaven forbid I work underneath it. So I'm not gonna go anywhere near it where it can slide over and squish me or fall down and squish me. I'm not gonna go anywhere where I'm gonna get squished. So if I am working to the side of it, I'm gonna make sure I'm kneeling or sitting in a position where if it does start to move, it's not gonna come over and squish on my foot or squish on my hand or a body part, or push me over and fall on me. You know, I'm gonna keep well out of harm's way. So if you don't have a proper floor jack, if you don't have jack stands and you're just jacking it up like that, do not go under the car. It's a very light car, it's only 1,800 pounds, but that's enough to squish you flat still, so don't go underneath it. Okay, so an update. I pulled the spring out, and I went and grabbed the spring that I got from the wreckers, and the spring I got from the wreckers is broke. Both springs were broke. So chances are that's why the car ended up at the wrecker. The guy didn't want to pay to fix it, and it's already an old car, so kind of sucks. I wish I would have noticed that when I was at the wreckers, but I didn't notice. So where did it break? Yeah, it broke somewhere there. So that's what's remaining on this one. Okay, so I called the auto parts store and they don't have a listing for the rear springs. And then I called another auto parts store and then they have the listing, but they can't call till Monday to see if they actually have it. And so what I'm gonna do, because I want to bring this car to my wife this weekend, and I don't want to call on Monday and they go, oh yeah, sorry, we can't get them, there's none in stock, it'll be a 2-week wait or something like that. So I'm just gonna take the springs out. I'm gonna take them out with the tires on that one and just jack it up, and the same thing, I'll just take the control arm off and take the sway bar and the shock off, if I can do it with the tire on. If not, I'll have to pull the tire off. I'll take the springs out and I'll put these old ones that aren't too bad, but they're ready to break too. They're sitting like an inch lower than what mine is. So I'll put those springs in my car, and my wife can drive with the ones out of mine and hers, and it should work just fine. So while I'm pulling the springs off of the other car there, I'm gonna give this a spray around the, I guess that's the spindle, with the zinc primer. Just give it a quick spray. Try not to get it on the brake shoes. And that'll keep it from rusting on the face and make it a little bit easier the next time I go pull the hub off, or the brake drum. I just went with my angle grinder with the sanding disc on it and gave it a quick buff. Get rid of any kind of bumps on there that wouldn't make the brake drum sit flat on there. Okay, so I don't have another jack. I just have a bunch of bottle jacks, which I can do at the bottle jack. Is just reaching underneath there to get to jack up the bottle jack from the side. I suppose I could do it from the back too. I think I'm gonna go in and get a floor jack. Yeah, it's time to invest in a floor jack. I'm glad I noticed it before I drove away in a hurry. Kind of didn't want a big red one, but it's probably a good jack. They wanted to sell me a warranty for 60 bucks. The jack was on sale for $149. They wanted to sell me a warranty for half the price of the jack. Just high enough to be in the way. If it was a half-inch lower, it would have went all the way in. Okay, have to do it from the back. That's nice. Okay, just a block. Need a good block. Pre-jack this tire. Pre-jack it. Why does that sound dirty? That sounds dirty, doesn't it? Pre-jacking. What is pre-jacking? What is pre-jacking? Leave in the comments below. And it's going up. There we go. Okay, car is in the air. Car is in the air and it's sturdier than the other one. This is the driver's side from my wife's car. You notice the difference from a city-driven car to a country-driven car, or a highway and country-driven car. Things are a little bit dirtier, starting to rust a little bit more. There isn't any difference in height. They're exactly the same, but it's possible this one lost some springiness to it.
Make those pictures with the truck.
So yeah, I'll throw this one in the driver's side, this one passenger side. Yeah, and since I'm here, I'll put this one in the driver's side. It has the, you know, you can pull the caps off. So, just like that. See, it's got the little hooks on the rubber. You just turn it until it hits the stop, and then you can install it in there. I think there's going to be a battle. Okay. So, if you want this to come down farther, you can undo the bolt from the CV joint and slide your CV shaft out. Probably only need to do the short side. The long side is probably okay. But if you're a stronger fella, then you could probably curl that spring in there. You know, just up like that. Yeah, a little bit hard on the forearm, but and just watch your fingers. So when you pull that spring back in there and you have your finger hooked on the bottom and that spring pops back down, that's gonna hurt like you know what, and it's not gonna relieve the pressure off of there no matter how hard you try. You're gonna have to pry something off. You're gonna have to pry off it to get the pressure to come off your finger, and imagine trying to pry on that thing with a pry bar with your finger stuck underneath it, you know, against the bumper stop here. It's not going to be fun, and your finger's not going to look very nice when you're done. So don't coil your fingers into the, you know, if you are putting it in, make sure you have your fingers up higher. Don't coil your fingers around the bottom to get a good grab on it. You know, just be careful and pay attention to where your hands are when you're putting that spring in. See, that could have been your finger in there. That would have sucked. So you gotta be really careful, because that jack is locked in place, but it locked in place at an angle, so it was probably bending. I'm gonna take this other control arm off so I can get this spring out. My intent was to do one at a time, but I decided I'll change that one out too. That just kind of like makes a little poop come out every time the car moves like that. The other one did the same thing, but at least I knew the jack was in there. So when you lift it up in that center point of the swing arm there, it's almost dead center of the car. So when you release the weight off of the back end, the front end will go back down on the shocks a little bit more. Not as scary as when I knock this block out. I suppose I could let that... See, that's why you don't sit under a car. Well, the jack popped out. No, you. The center jack is slipping off too. Hey, perfect opportunity to change that spring out. There we go. Try to get it on the curve there. At least jack it up enough that that block is loose and I can pull the rubber off. Aha! Just a little bit higher. But not so high that it's gonna slide over and fall off the jack, then I'm really screwed. Okay, that's max. That's the one I needed. But why is the tiniest one on the top? I don't get it. The thinnest rubber is on the top. These are the wrong rubbers. That's why it broke. It stretched out. Okay, so I'll pull that bottom one too. I really like this zinc primer. I'm gonna spray. I have anti-seize compound. You could use anti-seizing compound too if you don't want the bolt to rust and seize up, but you can also just spray it with the zinc primer, and then the zinc will be in there on the threads, and it's not gonna rust. Hopefully not rust anymore. The shock is still not at the right angle to put the bolt through. So when the swing arm comes up a little bit higher, this bolt can go in. So I can jack it up a little bit higher, I guess. Or I can let down the center. I got the other side jacked up pretty good. That's why I shouldn't have done it with one hand. Oh. Watching the other side for that corner of that jack to start coming off the ground, which means the car is starting to fall over. Okay, that's max on this jack. And look at that. It's enough for the bolt to pop through the hole there. Now I just gotta tighten that one up and then put the hub on, and I can put the tire on this side. I got lucky. I didn't bend the backing for the brake assembly. It's pretty heavy duty, so here's the nicely painted drum. I'm just gonna go with this is 400 grit sandpaper, 60 grit or 100 grit works a lot better. These aren't really rusted, but if you got a lot of rust on there from where the discs stuck to the drums, sometimes it happens if the car's been sitting for a while and in a wet area. With the emergency brake on, they'll rust to the hubs. And that's just removing the rust so you don't create a glaze on there. When you got rust and brake pad under heat and pressure, the rust will combine with the brake pad filings, whatever rubs off the brake pad, and form a glaze around there, and then your brakes. So that's when they squeak, but they don't really stop. So it's a good idea to sand your drums and sand your pads and sand your discs every time you take them off. Just go with a block and sandpaper, just rub your pads on the block and get that glaze off there. Difficulty getting the shock absorber bolt to line up in the hole after you took it off, and because the swing arm's all the way up on this side, but it still doesn't want to go in. So you can use the bolt to align the shock absorber. And just get it close in there. I'm doing this with one hand and I'm using my body to hold up the big screwdriver here. And then it should go in. Seems like it's going in. Yeah, it went in. And once it gets started, you can take the screwdriver out. There you go. No. So to get this sway bar bolt to go in, probably have to get a pry bar and push the swing arm over a little bit. It doesn't have to go over far, just have to give it a little nudge over, and then you could probably get the bolt in. Okay. So what I got I can shove in there to pry it over with. Suppose I could put a ratchet strap on that side to the rim and just ratchet it tight, but it doesn't have to go over that far. It's just the bushing. If I can get it started in there, then let's try something else. That might do it. Okay, I'll go with that. Just have to tighten it up now. I don't think I can lower that jack enough to get it out. There we go. Okay, down slowly, slowly, slowly. Okay, jack is stuck on the plastic. Seems like it's sitting higher. It's not squatted down so much anymore. Yeah, cool. Those springs are a little bit better than the ones that were on there. Why does mechanical work take so long? Well, when you're doing it for yourself and you want to do it nicely, it takes a little bit longer than when you take it to the shop and they just quickly change out the part and get you out the door. Yeah, 2:19, I think it's bedtime.